I was with his best friend when my husband walked in, and what he did terrified me.
Hi, Redditors. I'm new on this app, but I never expected my first Reddit experience to be me sharing a story that has damaged my life in so many ways. I had an affair with my husband's childhood friend, and now I'm facing the consequences of my actions. I got my karma, and it slaps harder than anything I can describe. I've always heard that karma is a bitch. Well, now I'm beginning to understand what that saying really meant. I decided to sow more than I could reap, and now I'm reaping a whole lot of miserable deeds. Cheating is one thing, but cheating with someone's close friend is another level of wrong. And here I am, in this position, with this disgusting shame I have brought upon myself. Temptation is something that not even the strongest of hearts can resist. It takes a lot of self-discipline to not give in to something that's literally right in front of you. I couldn't resist the temptation that was right in front of me, and that led me to committing a taboo that I regret with all my heart. My story is just not any normal story. It did not just happen overnight. I didn't just cheat overnight. It's something that was months or even years in the making. Before I go on, let me tell you all a little background story about me and my husband. My name is Christina, and I'm a 29-year-old makeup artist. I've been married to my husband, Andrew, a 31-year-old accountant, for over 3 years now. I met Andrew when his sister booked me for a makeup session. She came to New York to visit Andrew for some time before going on. Her birthday was in the same week, so she decided to book a makeup artist for her birthday shoot. I was recommended to her, and that's how I got the gig. Andrew was not in the house all day, but only got back when I was already done with the makeup. He greeted me casually before going upstairs. I was really shy when I saw him because Andrew is very attractive. Before I continue the story, let it be known that I also met Andrew's childhood friend when I came to do his sister's makeup. But that story is coming up ahead. I'm the type of woman that likes men who do not flaunt their interest for me openly. I like men that act like they are uninterested. Yes, Redditors, I know that sounds extremely weird, but it's true. That's the kind of person I am. That day, when I noticed how casual Andrew was when he greeted me, I took a liking to him. He looked extremely tired and went into his room immediately. His sister is quite a jovial person, and she was the one who told me how hard her brother works. She told me he gets back from work late sometimes and ends up tired. But on that particular day, Andrew got back home at 5 p.m., and that's when I was able to see him. I was already done with the makeup, and the photographer was already at the house so he could take the pictures. I did not have any business there again and was about to leave, but when I saw Andrew, I knew I was done for. Yes, I liked him the very first moment I saw him. I don't mean love at first sight, lol. It was more like a silly attraction that came at the spur of the moment. Even now that I think about it, I can't deny the fact that my husband is really attractive. I'm not surprised that I got attracted to him on the very first day I saw him. So, my fellow Redditors, that attraction led me into making a very stupid decision. I asked his sister if I could stay behind just to see how the pictures came out and to help her retouch the makeup when necessary. Yes, I was that desperate to get Andrew's attention. The surprising thing is that Andrew literally took forever to come out that day. The photographer was almost done with the pictures before I spotted Andrew coming out of the house. Imagine waiting hours just to see someone, and when they're finally there, standing right before you, your sense of reasoning disappears. I could not even walk towards him and start a conversation. It was his sister who took it upon herself to ask me if I fancied her brother. I tried to talk my way out of it, but eventually, I gave in and decided to tell her the truth. She was excited at the prospect of me liking him, but she was also a little bit sorry for me. When I asked her why she was sorry, she told me that Andrew already had a girlfriend and they were pretty serious. My fellow Redditors, I felt really heartbroken when she told me that. I know it sounds weird to be heartbroken when you have not even dated this person, but it wasn't easy. Have you ever had a crush who was dating someone else? It's a very horrible feeling. My main reason for feeling bad was that I'd wasted hours of work waiting for him so I could start a conversation, only to be told that he had a serious girlfriend. The makeup artist in me already calculated how much money I could have made during the time I spent daydreaming about someone I met barely hours before that time. Since I no longer had a reason to stay, I grabbed my makeup items and proceeded to leave the house. Andrew's sister did something that literally shook me in many ways. She called her brother at the lady minute and asked him to come see me off. Yes, she did that. I was so embarrassed that I tried to give her a hint that I was not interested in doing that. She did not listen to me at all. Andrew looked tired, but he still walked towards us with a smile on his face. He commented on my makeup skills and bid me farewell. Before he went back to the house, his sister made a comment about me having a crush on him. I swear, Redditors, I felt like letting the ground swallow me. At first, Andrew thought his sister was just being playful, but when he noticed my expressions, he realized she was telling the truth. Everything felt too awkward, and I did not want to be in that situation. I quickly left and made my way back home. 3 months later, I got a text from Andrew's sister. Apparently, she was back in New York and needed another makeup tutorial. That's how I ended up meeting Andrew's childhood friend, Collins. When I was busy with Andrew's sister's makeup, Collins randomly came to the house. He was friends with Andrew's sister. Well, I'll call her by her name from now on. Her name is Linda. So Collins came over while I was busy with Linda's makeup. He was friendly and even offered to assist me with the brushes and makeup items I needed while I was doing the makeup. The three of us managed to chat during the course of the makeup, and I was glad that the work environment was conducive and fun. At some point during the makeup, Collins asked for my phone number. He insisted that he just wanted to find more clients for me. I didn't mind and gave my phone number to him. I already forgot about the crush I had on Andrew because I honestly did not feel like he was someone I was ever going to see again. It was only a coincidence that his sister randomly asked me to be her makeup artist again. Well, I was very wrong because I saw Andrew again. He came back from work to get something before going back. My fellow Redditors, I really felt like the universe wanted us to meet again. But unfortunately for me, Andrew was in a rush. He went back to work immediately. Linda asked me if I still had feelings for him, and I brushed it off. I was not ready to go to that party. To be honest, I felt like a high school girl who was having a fling with someone that didn't even know her. The fact that he had a girlfriend was a huge turnoff because I was not ready to be that girl that tried to steal someone else's boyfriend. Well, my fellow Redditors, I did end up being that girl at the end of the day. 2 days after doing Linda's makeup, I got a call from Collins. He asked us to meet up for coffee, and I agreed. Collins was a nice guy, but he was not the man whose attention I wanted to get. But I didn't mind having a harmless coffee with him. After 3 weeks of randomly meeting up for coffee, Collins told me he had feelings for me. Okay, for someone who wanted to get the attention of his childhood best friend, I was not really excited. Andrea was the one I liked. But unfortunately, he was in a relationship. Collins seemed nice and all, but I found it weird to date the best friend of a guy I had feelings for. It was never going to end well, so I lied to Collins and told him I was not ready to be in a serious relationship. Prior to my conversation with Collins, Linda already told me Collins was a flirt, and I shouldn't take him seriously. I did not believe her until Collins told me we could just hook up and have a fling. I was not up for it, so I told him so. I don't want this to get too long, so I'll try to just point out the main details. Linda found a job in New York and started living with Andrew temporarily till she was able to get her own place. Linda and I became friends, so she invited me to Collins' house often. Sometimes I'd practice new makeup trends on her face and we'd experiment it together. Linda and I became quite close, and it was a friendship I didn't see coming. I know you all are where Collins was during all this time. Collins was still in a relationship, and his girlfriend, Sandra, even came to the house many times. Yes, I know what you all are thinking. It did hurt me to see the guy I liked with his girlfriend, but there was nothing I could do. Months flew by, and Kinda told me Collins and Sandra took a break in their relationship. I don't really know the details of what happened, but I heard that Sandra had been transferred to work in another state. Collins was not ready for a long-distance relationship, so they decided to take a break and see how things went. Long story short, I decided to use that opportunity to get Andrew's attention. I know that sounds desperate and awkward, but I liked him a lot and wanted to date him. We started chatting once in a while anytime I visited Linda, and that's how our friendship started. But it was just a friendship. There was nothing more to it. But one day, Linda invited me to the house to help her pack because she already found an apartment to move into. I knew that would be my last excuse to see Andrew, so I decided to speak to him. I stayed overnight in their house because we packed till it was very late. Linda asked me to stay over so I could follow her to her new apartment. That night, I met Andrew in the living room and we started chatting randomly. He was quite sad that his sister was going to move out since he's gotten used to being around. The three of us drank a lot that night and watched movies. Linda decided to go to sleep early since she still had to move out. My fellow Redditors, that's how I was left in the living room with Andrew. I don't know if it was the alcohol we took or the romantic movies we watched, but we ended up sleeping together that night. When I woke up the next morning, I was afraid he'd regret everything and possibly tell me it was a mistake, but that wasn't the case. Oh my God, this got longer than I expected, Redditors. The main story is not even here yet. I just wanted you all to understand the dynamic that started between Collins, Andre, and I. Talking about Collins, if you're wondering where he was during all these, I'll tell you. A few months before Linda moved out, Collins lost his father and went back to his hometown. He told us it was really tough on his family since his mother was also dead. He had 4 siblings to take care of, so he decided to stay in his hometown for a while to monitor them and be the father figure. Andrew and I started dating weeks after our intimate moment in his house. A part of me was really scared he'd get back with his girlfriend, but I decided to finally ask him if they were ever going to get back together. He told me he was not getting back with Sandra because he was not ready for a long-distance relationship. Linda was really happy I was dating Andrew because she believed I genuinely liked him a lot. The relationship between Andrew and Collins was still quite strong despite the distance. Andrew and Collins called each other almost every week, and Collins even tried his best to send Andrew money to support him sometimes. Collins and I lost contact during that period, and it was mostly my fault. I blocked him even before he went to his father's burial because I did not want to complicate things. He'd approached me many times and I always said no. I did not want to keep hurting him, so I decided to cut all communication with him. Collins was not aware that Andrew and I were in a relationship at all. Maybe Andrew did not feel the need to tell him since he was not aware of Collins' feelings for me. Andrea was never really home when Collins used to flirt with me, so he was oblivious to our dynamic. I also took Linda's words seriously and did not take Collins seriously because I believed he was just a flirt. Andrew and I dated for 2 more years before he proposed to me. I said yes instantly, and that's how we got married. I'm going to say this with all my heart. I love my husband very much. My fellow Redditors, I love Andrew with all my heart. Even from the first day I saw him, I knew that I had strong feelings for that man. Getting married to him was the happiest moment of my whole life. Even my family believed that there was no better match for me. His family was very welcoming and they made me feel at home. A few weeks before the wedding, Andrew told Collins he was getting married to the girl he's been dating for over 3 years. Collins knew Andrew was in a relationship, but he did not know it was me. Maybe Andrew did not mention my name, or maybe Collins just decided not to think about it. I don't know which one it is, because when Collins came back to New York for the wedding 2 weeks early, he was shocked to see that I was the one getting married to Andrew. Collins pulled me to the side and poured out his heart. He accused me of trying to use his childhood best friend to make him jealous. Yes, he said that. I had to make it clear to Collins that I'd always liked Andrew from the very first day I saw him. I had to make him understand that even if Andrew was not his best friend, I'd still have dated him. Collins did not seem to get my explanation at all. He looked like he could snap my neck in half. My fellow Redditors, that really made me scared. I did not want Collins to end up ruining my relationship with Andrew, so I decided to go tell Linda what had transpired. She called Collins and explained everything to him. She even explained how I'd told her I had a crush on Andrew since the very first day I saw him. Collins finally decided to let it go and told us he was just overacting. I didn't want to count in his words, so I told Andrew everything. Andrew seemed upset at first because of Collins' behavior, but they had a bro talk about it and everything was cleared. Collins assured Andrew that he was just joking and wanted to make me sweat just for fun. We laughed it off and moved on. We had a stress-free marriage 2 weeks later. When I moved into Andrew's house after the wedding, our life as a married couple began. It was really a nice experience, and it felt good to call someone your husband confidently. It felt good to own the right to somebody as much as they owned rights to you. I fell in love with the way he treated me and the way our marriage had mutual respect for each other. I continued my job as a makeup artist, and I was really busy. Andrew was also busy with work, but We'd find time once in a while to go on dates and go on trips. Everything was literally perfect. And I did not think that there'd ever be a reason for me to come to Reddit and write about how my marriage has taken a drastic turn because of me. Yes, me. There's no one more responsible than me. Sure, other people played a part in it, but the ball was always in my court. I'm the one who really had the final say to decide if I wanted to fall for the temptation that brought itself. I got carried away, and now I've broken everything Andrew and I worked hard to build. I cheated. I cheated on my husband. I never thought I'd ever cheat on him. I never thought things would get to this point, and now I regret everything that get in the way of me and my husband. If you're guessing that Collins had a hand in it, you're right. I bet you never guessed that Sandra, his ex-girlfriend, would have a hand in it too, right? Well, Sandra is also very much involved in this whole fiasco. I'm as much as everyone has a hand in it, I'm the one to blame. Does Andrew have a hand in it? I don't really know. But he's not entirely innocent. One day I got the shock of my life when Linda invited me to her apartment urgently. Many times before then, Linda had always invited me to come to her apartment for one or two things. Our friendship was still the same, and we never let anything water it down. So, on this fateful day, Linda said I had to come urgently. Andrew was at work, so I dressed up and went to her place. Linda was practically pacing around the room when I came. I was really surprised to see her acting that way, so I asked her what the problem was. My fellow Redditors Linda told me that an unexpected guest was back in New York. That unexpected guest is Sandra. In any normal relationship, your husband's ex-girlfriend shouldn't bother you that much. But in my case, it bothered me a lot. The fact that Sandra and Andrew were in a very serious relationship and only broke up because of work was enough reason to make me worried. They didn't break up because they fell out of love or anything like that. They broke up because they couldn't manage to have a long-distance relationship. I was very scared. I was terrified of the prospect of Sandra trying to get back together with him. There was every possibility that she would try to make things work, and I knew it. I knew that if she wanted him, the fact that he was married was not going to stop her. Linda tried to calm me down, but I was too far gone in my head to think straight. I honestly thought that my marriage was over, but Linda made me understand that I was overacting. She told me not to think too much about it, and that the only reason she felt like letting me know was so I would not overreact when I found out later. We all know some things are easier said than done, and in my situation, it was the same thing. I had a lot that was at stake, so I decided to go back and get myself together. That day, I really found it hard to sleep. I really wanted to know if Andrew was aware that Sandra was back in New York. My fellow Redditors, you had to see how uneasy I was that night. It was so bad that even Andrew noticed that I was not my usual self. He asked me if everything was fine, and I told him I just had something on my mind, and it was not a big deal. Andrew did not buy my excuse. He was so tired from a hectic workday, but he insisted I told him what was bothering me before I went to bed. When I finally told him Sandra was back in New York, he was not surprised. Yes, Redditors, Andrew seemed to have been aware of Sandra's arrival. If I was worried before, the knowledge of that just made me more worried. I asked him how he knew, and he told me she reached out to him recently and asked them to meet for coffee. Listen to me, guys. I don't know if I might come across as paranoid or a drama queen, but I did not like what he said at all. Any woman would be angry if she found out her husband's ex-girlfriend asked him to meet her for coffee. But in my situation, I was paranoid. I knew their history, and I was aware of the fact that they never really had real relationship problems. I'm not one to bottle things in, so I told my husband right there, and then that I didn't want him to go meet Sandra. He asked why, and I told him everything I had in my mind. We never really kept secrets from each other before, so I felt comfortable telling him I was not happy about Sandra's arrival. Like all men in that situation act, he sweet-talked me into believing that there was nothing going on between him and Sandra. He told me she was still his friend, and all he wanted to do was marry her and catch up. There was nothing I could say again because I didn't want to come across as the overprotective wife. He had a point. He knew her even before he met me, and there were still friends. I made him promise me that he'd be back in less than an hour, and he did. I'll be lying if I said I was not still worried. Well, they had coffee 1 week later and we moved on with our lives. But I still had a feeling that Sandra was trying to reach out to Andrew. I knew this because of the sudden calls Andrew was getting frequently. He'd silence his phone or cut the call, but I knew there had to be something fishy going on. I managed to lie with that suspicious feeling for 3 more months before something unexpected happened. Collins came back to New York with his siblings. He'd earned enough money in his hometown for all those years, so he decided to come back to New York with 2 of his siblings. The rest were either in college or working. I did not expect Collins to return at all. It honestly came as a shock to me. At that point, I kind of felt like all the problems in my past were returning. Of course, I never had a relationship with Collins. We were just friends, and he asked me out, but I refused. We'd moved past that, and he even attended my wedding. There was nothing to worry about, but I didn't like everything that was happening at all. I already hated the fact that Sandra was trying to reach out to my husband. I was certain of this because I saw her missed calls on his phone. From the things I saw, it seemed like Andrew had been ignoring all her advances, but she was still trying. I knew that it was only a matter of time before he gave in or she got crazier. I spoke to Linda about my concerns and she assured me that Andrew was never going to cheat on me. I believed her and so I tried to calm down. Collins became a thorn in my flesh all of a sudden. He was my husband's best friend. Childhood friend for that matter, so it made sense that he started visiting our house frequently. First, he brought his siblings along and tried to tell us how he was being a wonderful father figure. Andrew and Collins had a very strong friendship, so Andrew did not seem to mind Collins' regular visits. I'm sure you all have read about those ladies that are accused of coming in between their husband's relationship with his friends and relatives. I didn't want to be that wife, and I didn't want to be accused of doing something like that. That's why I tried my honest best not to let Andrew know that I was uncomfortable with Collins' visits. I did not want to suddenly tell my husband that I didn't want his best friend at our house anymore. Collins took my silence for approval. He started coming more frequently and eating around the house. Yes, he practically took anything he wanted from the refrigerator without asking me. Sure, he didn't need to. I'm just his friend's wife. I'm sure he did all those things just to get on my nerves and make me do something that will cause a rift between my husband and I. All I wanted to do was handle everything in an amicable manner. I tried to be mature and reasonable in everything I did. One day, I decided to have a conversation with my husband. I told him everything Collins was up to, and I told him I didn't like his behavior at all. My husband gave me permission to speak to him and sort things out. He told me he didn't want to be involved in our disagreements. To be honest, I was really upset that my husband said that to me. He also said he didn't want to pick a side. Who the fuck was talking about picking sides? My fellow Redditors, all I wanted him to do was tell his friend to limit the way he came to the house and acted all high and mighty. But it seemed like I was asking him to do too much, so I took matters into my own hands. I had an argument with Andrew over the issue, but I decided to let it go because I knew that was Colin's plan all along. It was just a pity that my husband wasn't ready to see that his childhood best friend was trying his very best to ruin his marriage. One day I decided to speak to Collins. I told him I disliked the way he came to the house frequently and messed with the things in the kitchen without my permission. Collins actually got very angry and left the house. That was not my intention, so I told my husband what happened and asked him to call Collins on my behalf. Collins' phone number was STI blocked on my phone, and I did not plan on unblocking him. After Andrew got off the phone with Collins, he got angry and told me not to make Collins feel unwelcome in our home anymore. Apparently, Collins made up stories about me to Andrew. I tried explaining myself, but Andrew just told me not to bring up the subject. My fellow Redditors, I was very angry. It felt like my husband was only ready to take Collins' side, so I decided to stop caring about Collins' presence. I let him go whatever he wanted. After all, the real owner of the house did not mind. I did not speak to Linda about what was going on because I was already tired of disturbing her after every little misunderstanding between my husband and I. I wanted to handle things independently without disturbing her. At that point, I'd already forgotten all about Sandra and her presence in New York. I didn't even think about her or the fact that she was still trying to contact Andrew. But one day, I just couldn't understand what transpired. That was the same day I cheated on my husband with Collins. I still regret every single thing that transpired that day, but all I can do now is wallow in self-pity. It was a rainy day. It had rained from the previous night non-stop. Andrew only managed to get to work safely when the rain stopped for some time. After he left for work, Collins showed up suddenly. Apparently, he forgot his work file at our place. Yes, that's how frequent he showed up. He was almost like a tenant at our place. After getting the work file, he asked if he could stay for brunch. Of course, I knew that was just his way of trapping me. If I refused, he'd make up stories to tell Andrew. I served him brunch, and while he was eating, it started raining again. It was another heavy rain, and it didn't look like it planned to stop. Collins could not go because it was not good weather to drive in. I was really worried about the possibility of Collins not making it home early that day because the rain was really heavy. I didn't want him to stay out late. I was worried for his safety, and I was also worried that Sandra might try something suspicious. A part of me felt like I was exaggerating, but I had to be certain. So, my fellow Redditors, I called my husband when it was almost 5 p.m. and he told me it was impossible to drive in the weather. He said he'd come home late. I got really worried because even Collins couldn't leave. I decided to calm my nerves and just go to my room. I took a hot bath before changing into my pajamas. I was hungry, and I also knew that Collins was hungry too. I did not cook anything in the afternoon and just munched on snacks. I did not expect him to stay for that long. After making dinner and offering it to him, I stayed in the living room to watch a movie. I wanted to be around when my husband came back, and I didn't want to fall asleep before he came. I was also not comfortable with living with Collins in the house with my husband while I was in my room. I did not trust him not to go looking into our things. Collins also stayed in the living room and watched the movie with me. It was quiet at first, and we did not attempt to start any conversation. But after some time, Collins started asking me about my makeup business. That's where the conversion began, my fellow Redditors. We spoke about life and random things. After some minutes into the second movie, Collins came to sit beside me on the couch. Our shoulders were practically touching. I was not uncomfortable in that position, so I moved away and sat on another couch. He laughed at my reaction and sat next to me again. Collins gave me no space to think. He told me I looked beautiful and that he still misses me. He started whispering non-coherent words, and I honestly felt like he was drunk. But then again, I did not see him drinking. I pushed him away and warned him to stop, or else I'd call my husband and tell him everything. I did not expect Collins to laugh in my face when I mentioned calling my husband. He called me a fool and told me I was dumb to think that Collins had been faithful to me. I called his rants bullshit and tried moving upstairs. I knew his words were getting to me and I didn't want him to brainwash me. But, fellow Redditors, I ended up being brainwashed. Collins asked me if I was aware that Sandra was back in New York. That caught my attention, and in a bid to show him Andrew and I didn't hide anything from each other, I told him I was aware. He took out his phone and showed me pictures of Sandra standing in front of Andrew's workplace. According to Collins, Sandra had been trying to reach out to Andrew. He told me she still wanted him back, and she'd showed up to his workplace many times. I might not have wanted to believe Collins, but pictures didn't lie, and the evidence was right in front of me. Collins also told me that Sandra was at Andrew's workplace that moment, and they were probably together getting intimate. I was shocked, but I refused to believe it, and brought out my phone to call Andrew. Andrew did not pick up after 2 more calls. Collins laughed again and told me he was telling me the truth. He even showed me a picture of Andrew and Sandra meeting up for lunch. I got brainwashed, and I was stupid enough to believe everything he said. I started crying uncontrollably because I thought Andrew was cheating on me. Collins decided to comfort me by hugging me. That's how he started touching me, and I foolishly got carried away. I thought I was cheating back and paying Andrew back for lying to me. I ended up sleeping with Collins, and we fell asleep on the couch. I woke up that same night to a bucket of cold water being poured on me. My fellow Redditors, my husband stood there and watched me with disgust in his eyes. The rain had stopped, and he came home only to see me naked on the couch with his best friend. At first, I felt guilty, and then I accused him of cheating first. I told him everything Collins told me. My fellow Redditors, my husband slapped me so hard that I fell on the floor. He almost killed Collins right there in the living room. Apparently, Collins lied to me. All the pictures he showed me of Sandra standing in front of Andrew's office were true, but Andrew never met up with her intentionally. The picture of both of them having lunch was taken before I met him. I was so paranoid and brainwashed that I was not ready to see the real truth. After giving Colin several sounds, Andrew threw him out of the house. The words Andrew said that night still hurt me till this day. He was angry, disappointed, and enraged. He sent me out of the house in the middle of the night with only my pajamas. I had nowhere to go. I went to Linda's place that same night, even though she was terrified to see me in my horrible state. After telling her everything, Linda was furious. She told me she was disappointed in me for not listening to her warnings. She couldn't even look at me. She only allowed me to stay at her place for 2 days before sending me out. According to her, she could not go against her brother for me. Only my parents took me in, even though they still look at me with disappointment in their eyes. I lived miserably for 2 months. I tried reaching out to Andrew and visiting him, but he warned the gatekeeper never to let me in, and he blocked my number. Just last month, I heard from my friend that Andrew and Sandra are now back together. I almost ended my life when I heard the news. I've lost everything and I'm the only one to blame. Not even Linda wants to listen to me. Andrew sent me the divorce papers 2 weeks ago and I'm still yet to sign it. I plan on signing it soon because all hope is lost. I no longer have a marriage and I've lost my good friend. I betrayed my husband by sleeping with his childhood friend. Even though I was made to believe he cheated, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and I should have never cheated back as a way of revenge. At the end of the day, he didn't really cheat. It was all a trap. Maybe I was meant to learn my lesson the hard way. I'm to blame for everything. I regret cheating in my husband. I ruined everything with my own hands. Thank you for reading my story, Reddit. At least I got a little bit of closure. Till next time. Hopefully I have something to celebrate. Though, I highly doubt it.